Hello everyone, welcome to From the Star Wars Home Video Library. I'm your host, Nathan P. Butler. This is a supplemental episode circling back to a related item to something we looked at relatively recently. Back in episode number 98, we took a look at this. This is at THX Home Audio System WOW Demonstration Disc. Nice long name there. We took a look at it, what it entailed, how this basically was something that was designed to sort of show off the THX audio system for home use by playing it with that type of system as a demonstration, essentially, as a demo, including that 7.5 minute little segment called WOW, which was a montage of George Lucas film clips, Willow, Indiana Jones, Star Wars, and such, to sort of play, and sometimes play on a loop, in order to draw people in and get them interested in THX sound systems. This was produced back in 1990 and reissued year after year for a while. My particular copy is dated 1995. Well, remember, by the time we get to 1997, there aren't any more Star Wars Laserdiscs on the horizon. 97 is it. Laserdisc was on its way out as the 90s were wrapping up. So as we head into the later part of the 90s and into the 2000s, if they're going to be promoting THX, they need something other than Laserdisc to do it. And that brings us to the three things we're checking out this time around. I posted the video for that episode, for episode number 98, up on Justin Berger's Star Wars Home Video Facebook group. It's a closed group, only about 125 members at this point. Search it. Great place to talk about Star Wars Home Video with other collectors. And when I posted, a gentleman by the name of John Keane popped up and gave me some more information about where this sort of went after that Laserdisc. It turns out I'd actually seen one of these before, and I actually just picked it up off of eBay, but he pointed out that there were a couple of other ones out there, and as someone who had been a home theater audio system installer for years, he actually had some of these on hand that he was willing to part with. So, we have three different items that essentially are all the children of this to take a look at in this episode. But as I neglected to do last time, perhaps we should start any discussion of THX audio with a very familiar sound cue, perhaps. But I better hold on to my friggin' teeth. THX. The audience is deaf now. Whew, okay. Alright, so what are we looking at here? We're looking actually at three DVDs this time around, moving from the optical disc realm of Laserdisc into the optical disc realm of DVD. And the first of these is actually the one that seems to be the most well-known of ways to get a demo disc for THX on DVD. That is this. It's called THX, the Ultimate Demo Disc. Has that cool little film reel kind of thing going on here with the different THX ads and whatnot represented as different frames on it. It has THX down there at the bottom. THX Ultimate Demo Disc on either side. And in the back, that cool, like, lightning crashing kind of thing going on here that lists your individual tracks. And this was initially produced in 2003 and was given out, in this case, to individual home theater providers or theater installers who were certified by THX to be able to install THX sound systems to that high standard. So this item, again, from 2003, with some parts of it copyrighted to 2002, was available to those installers. So you'll sometimes see these on eBay and whatnot. But they weren't something you could just go out and buy, and it wasn't like it was something that was packed in with your system. It was something that was given to the people who might be installing the system for you. The disc itself, you can see there, the back is just a cardboard piece or a thick paper piece. There's not any kind of fold-out or anything like that to it. Is this THX Ultimate Demo Disc, legalese underneath with its copyright dates of 2002 and 2003. Then DVD down at the bottom, presented by Deluxe. Okay, as far as the authoring of the DVD goes. Now, there's a lot of cool content on here. We'll get to that in a second. But there was a second version of this same thing, which you could get from a home theater chain called Onkyo, which I believe is based only out of Japan at this point. I certainly haven't seen any of them in the U.S., but then again, could have just been out of business in the U.S. I believe it was just a Japanese company, though. And that was this. It is the exact same disc. Exact same copyright dates and everything, but this is from 2004, a reissue of that 2003 disc. You see it as THX Ultimate Demo Disc, same name, provided to you by Onkyo, the company. Up there in the corner, 10th anniversary sticker says Onkyo and THX. Onkyo, 10th anniversary, THX, a decade of superior sound. It's your THX logo down there at the bottom. Again, THX Ultimate Demo Disc, this time centered. And the back is going to give us our chapter listing, but interestingly, it calls it the THX Showcase Chapter Index. That's because there's a section on the disc called a THX Showcase, which is where most of the chapters of content are. But it's not the only content on the disc. There are other ways to get at that same content through different aspects of the menu system. So what exactly is on this disc? Well, first, you have some demo segments that you can check out. There's a retail demo called the Basic Retail Demo. It's meant to just play on a loop. So if you got it in your store, it can be like, hey, check out THX, isn't this sweet? Over and over showing the same things. Kind of like if you walk into Best Buy these days, you'll see that type of thing. And there's a home theater demo that's pretty much the same as the basic retail, albeit with some different audio settings set up. And as you are playing that, that is where you get a THX logo with the whole the audience is listening thing, the pod race from the theatrical version of The Phantom Menace, and bear in mind, it is the theatrical version. It only runs about 7 minutes and 40 seconds from when Anakin finally jams down the accelerator and is able to take off to when Saboba's like, Poodoo! Which, if you watch it on the DVD, runs about 8 minutes and 55 seconds, give or take. So, yes, it is the original version, not the DVD version, despite this being put together for either 2002 or 2003. And then it goes straight from there into another THX trailer that then fades to black, and the whole thing can loop over and over and over again. It's kind of like it's using the pod race for the same purpose as that THX Wow montage back in the 90s. Then you've got a segment called Ultra 2, and it's all about the THX Ultra 2 system and standard, which is all just one featurette. Then you have the so-called Showcase with tons of stuff, which we'll get to in a moment because there's so much to it. And then you continue your loop around the menu, and you will eventually find yourself at the setup screen. And you would think that setup is just setting up the system or setting up the disk or choosing language options or something. Au contraire, there is a ton of stuff under setup. You have the Lucasfilm THX Optimizer with audio and video tests to help you optimize your home theater system. It's got 3 tests for audio and 6 different tests for video. Then you got a segment called Lucasfilm THX Digital Services, still under setup, where you can check out information about the Theater Alignment Program, which is what brings movie theaters into line with the THX standard, the Digital Mastering Program, which is all about how they basically digitally master films to meet that standard, and then Professional Multi-Channel Mixing and Monitoring. Yes, I'm looking at a cheat sheet on this other screen over here, because there's a lot of stuff on this thing. And basically that's all about how they mix things together in the first place using the THX standard. And then you've got the actual audio options, which are Dolby Digital and DTS, Digital Surround Sound. And there is a link to THX.com. The Showcase, though, that's where the bulk of the cool stuff is to really show off your THX system. But again, it's a lot of stuff. Now, most of this is relatively quick, but some of them are longer featurettes. But it includes George Lucas, The Power of Movies, a quick little comment from George Lucas about it, and then it moves into showing that pod race sequence that shows up as part of those 2 demo loops. Then Gary Ridstrom talks about the power of surround sound, and then we get basically an audio demonstration of THX in 5.1, and that is jungle sounds, everything from the sounds of nature in the jungle to like a helicopter, get to the chopper kind of sounds going on. Then they put that THX Ultra 2 segment into this Showcase mix. Then you have Gary Lux briefly talking about the power of music and how THX affects that. And then we have 5 different music options to play an entire musical selection to get a feel for how it works with THX. You have Sing Song Sung by Big Fat Band, 1 in a Million by Shankar and Ginger? G-I-N-G-G-E-R. It's very, very easy to mess that up and say something inappropriate. Karma by Rambient, Blues for Albie by David Becker Tribute, and Allegro from Spring, the Four Seasons by Vivaldi. All together as audio examples that you can check out. Then there's what's called the THX Story featurette, which is basically an explanation of how the THX process and system came to be. Then it gives us actually two things from the Laserdisc. The WOW montage is on there, only now in DVD quality, and the soundtrack featurette from this. I mentioned that at the time, hadn't had a chance to see it yet. It's actually really cool. It's granted a little bit dated, because it was made back in 1990 for the original version of this. But it's cool in that it shows you, it uses a scene from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, right, where he's on the ship, he's tracked down the guy that stole the cross from back in that earlier segment before it was Harrison Ford, where it was River Phoenix playing young Indiana Jones. It's the whole, it belongs in a museum. It's like, so do you. That segment on the boat. And they basically strip it down and show, okay, here's the original audio from when it was filmed. Here's how they use the Foley process to create some of the sound effects. Here's how they insert these pre-made sound effects from a library. Here's where the music comes in. Here's how the sound mix gets put together with the wind and everything. And it's all narrated by James Earl Jones and includes clips of other things like, for instance, clips from the beginning of A New Hope, Star Wars, just like in the montage. In case I didn't mention that, in the WOW montage, that is where you'll find Star Wars content here. But it also shows that opening of A New Hope where it's got, the rebel troopers running towards the hatch as Darth Vader's about to come through, and, Vader grabbing Ramus Antilles, and, I want them alive, and all that kind of stuff going on with David Prowse doing the voice instead of James Earl Jones, and it's all that original on-set audio. So it's a pretty cool little look here, even though, granted, it's out of date in the digital era to an extent. The process is still pretty much the same. It's just that when they get to the part about, and we take the film and do this, that's where it starts to be a bit out of date. But a very interesting little segment. And then you've got a set of THX trailers dating from 1983 all the way up to 2001, including the classic one with The Simpsons, where it blows you out kind of like I did a moment ago, and it's just people like losing their teeth and everything. It's so loud, and then once it's over, Grandpa Simpson is still like, turn it up, and that sort of thing. And then it gives a segment for credits for the DVD itself. So a lot of really good stuff if you're interested in the THX sound system and THX mastering for films. If you want to get a little bit more in-depth with that and see some cool demo material, that if you have a solid system that uses THX audio setups, you could then go in and say, hey, check this out, look how awesome it is, don't you want this too? And a store could say, yes, and you can buy it here. But this one was actually provided to the stores for that very purpose. Right? So you've got one that goes to the installers who are certified, one that goes to the stores in order to say, hey, come in, check this out, buy THX certified equipment here. But that's just two, and I said there were three things I wanted to talk about. The other I spoke of is your twin set. No, not anything like that. And that is the THX Demo Disc 2. This time in a slim case instead of a jewel case. Very straightforward front, THX Demo 2. A little bit to the back, contact info for THX there, and it lays out basically what the contents are. They're sort of set up this way. Then inside you have your disc, THX Demo Disc 2, right? Promotional use only, not for resale. And interestingly, also included in there with it are these. And this looks really weird, because it's all bluish purple. These are special THX Optimizer 2.0 glasses. The idea is that when you're doing your optimization for your system, you should wear these to get the ultimate in optimization for your system. The optimizer, again, is present on those earlier 2003/2004 DVDs. 2004 is the date on the one from Onkyo, and THX 2003 on the original version of it. And there is basically an entire side of nothing but optimizing stuff on that Laserdisc from back in the 90s. This is now an upgrade, the Optimizer 2.0 that you can use these to help you with. Now, this one is quite a bit different than the other two. The other two are identical except for their packaging. Even down to the labels, they're identical. But you get to demo disc number 2, it's 2007, things have progressed a bit, and we're not going to be seeing repeats of the same previous material anymore. Instead, what we're going to see is, first off, there's what are called the demo playlists, and there are demos set up for different modes of THX. So you have the retail demo, which is set up, says it plays THX trailers, home theater setup, and selection of demo content. It's meant to be played in a store. So it tells you a little bit about the system and then gives you a bunch of different clips, including part of the opening space battle of Revenge of the Sith, right, Star Wars content. It's got several bits from a combination of Raiders of the Lost Ark and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, though oddly nothing from Temple of Doom at that point, even though, you know, it was part of the original Indiana Jones trilogy before Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And then you have, alongside this, clips from things like Pirates of the Caribbean and Alien, not all George Lucas films this time. Then you got a separate section specifically for home theaters, as it plays a selection of demo content. And then you got a section called Movie Demo that plays a selection of movie clips, so you're supposed to use THX Cinema Mode for that. Then there's a music demo section with just a bunch of music with the details on the music showing on the screen at the time, which plays a selection of music clips where you're supposed to use THX Music Mode. There are different modes depending on what you're doing. Then, unlike previously, it's not just talking music and movies or music and video playback. They're also talking about games, and there's a section for game demos. It says it plays a selection of game clips, uses THX Games Mode, though really it's only showing clips from Soul Calibur 3 and Jack X racing game. Otherwise, it's not showing anything else about THX certified games. And then there's a combination demo that basically just goes through all the different demo content that's on there played all at once. But if you want to just see one particular piece of demonstration material and just look at that, you can go and check out a section of THX trailers. Then all of your movie content, all your movie clips can be played individually. All the music content can be played individually. All the game content can be played individually. And the movie stuff includes, again, clips from Revenge of the Sith, Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, Alien, X-Men, Die Hard, Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And then if you're looking for music, that includes several different pieces this time. Cruise Control, Haydn String Quartet in D minor, Poinciana, if I'm saying that right, Tchaikovsky's Capriccio Ataline, if I'm saying that right, Sophia, Traditional Cadence, and Strobe. And then you have your demo for the games. Again, it's just those two, giving quick little clips here, Soul Calibur 3 and Jack X Combat Racing. Then you have another section called Home Theater Basics, and that one is actually a lot more in-depth than I expected it to be. There's one segment that's really kind of long. It's almost 15 minutes long, all about your home theater setup to help you set it up and get the best out of it. And then you've got another segment that runs short, about 3-4 minutes, called From the Studio to the Big Screen. And they all use these sort of animated segments to show how you're supposed to set it up and how the process is done. All new stuff not found on the previous Laserdisc or DVD. Then you've got your system setup area, and that's where your optimizer is. You can choose either Dolby Digital or DTS surround sound. There's a little 30-second clip talking about what the optimizer is, and then there's actually the THX Optimizer 2.0 that you can use that has the exact same tests that were done on 1.0 back on the other stuff, or back on the DVDs, but it's been optimized so you can use these and for more modern equipment. So all about getting the most out of your system, but in the process, they give us a lot of cool information about THX, about the process, about the theater transformation to actually meet that type of certification on both of these discs, on both of these products, or all three of these if you want to count the other one as two, even though it's essentially the same disc anyway. And in the process of doing that, uses bits and pieces of, among other things, Star Wars films, particularly Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. Though there is a point where they do also show and give an example of a science fiction space battle sequence that's all something done as special effects where there's no sound and how the sound adds to it. They do show a part of the Battle of Endor and Return of the Jedi without the sound and just the ships flying around and such. So, is it Star Wars? Does it count for part of a Star Wars home video library? It depends on your own point of view, as Obi-Wan Kenobi might have said. I picked up the THX Laserdisc because it was an interesting curiosity. Upon finding out about these, picked these up as well. Maybe you'll find it's something that's worth being part of your Star Wars home video library. Maybe not. But, as always, your focus determines your collection, and you get to decide what your collection consists of and where your boundaries are. And in this case, this one slips in just right at the edge of my boundary of what I count as Star Wars. With that, we'll wrap up this episode. Thank you for watching, and may the Force be with the home video viewers.